Hi, thank you for joining me today for another Facebook Live. I'm Dr. Alexis Conason, and I am so excited to be here with you today talking about something that I think is super, super important, which is how to raise body confident kids. Before we jump in, I want to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, again, I'm Dr. Alexis Conason. I'm a clinical psychologist in practice here in New York City. I'm also the founder of the Anti-Diet Plan, which is a 6-week virtual program designed to help you develop a more peaceful relationship with food and your body and get you out of the diet, overeating, out of control, self-hatred roller coaster that so many of us are stuck in. And one of the things that I think is so powerful about this program is that when we really work to resolve our own relationship with food and work to heal ourselves, it often creates a ripple effect and works its way into the next generation. So it's not just about changing ourselves, but it's about impacting our children as well. And as a parent, I don't think there's anything more important than that. And I know most other parents agree is we really want the best for our kids, and we don't want them to suffer and to struggle with the same kinds of things that so many of us deal with. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about, some things that we can do to raise kids that are body confident and that don't struggle with body shame. The body shame that I think is so pervasive in our culture, and certainly in my generation and in the generation before me, because I hear stories about how many of my patients, and I know this holds true for myself, how many of us were indoctrinated with body shame as a result of our parents, often our mothers, unresolved issues around body. And it's not to blame mothers, because we have as a mother, I can say it's a hard job and we are all doing the best that we can. But it's a product of our culture, of our dysfunctional culture that teaches women to hate our bodies, and we can't help but pass that along unknowingly and unintentionally. So anyways, I think that, working towards healing our own relationship with food is essential. I'm going to be hosting a completely free training tomorrow. You can register at theantidieetplan.com/P/masterclass. And I have the link up here in the description. And that is going to be a program about helping us take the first step off of the diet cycle, to free ourselves from dieting and start living our lives with more freedom and more joy. So if you're interested in doing that, feel free to join me tomorrow for the free masterclass. It'll be a 1-hour free training. It's held tomorrow on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I'm having another session of the same program on Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So I really hope to see many of you there. And without further ado, I'm going to jump right into our topic for this week, which is, again, raising body confident kids. So, the statistics are really heartbreaking on this. Upwards of or close to 50% of girls ages 3 to 5 years old worry about being fat. And it just kind of gets worse as we age. I think it's like 80% of girls who are 8 worry about their body or don't like their body. 1 in 4 girls by something like 7, 8, 9 years old are dieting. And to me, these statistics are heartbreaking, because it kind of speaks to that this epidemic that we're struggling with, the epidemic of body shame, is kind of being passed down to our next generation. And, again, as a parent, like, the last thing I want is for my daughter to struggle with not feeling good about her body and the global impact that can have on our lives. Because when we don't feel good about our body, it's very hard to feel good about any other area in our lives. And it leads to, kind of a global sense of like low self-esteem. It can be linked with an increased risk of eating disorders and disordered eating, body image dissatisfaction, depression, anxiety, just like a whole lot of things that obviously we don't want our kids to be dealing with. So I think we should do whatever we can to try to raise kids free from this body shame. And, looking at those statistics, we really have our work cut out for us. We have a big job to do in trying to counter what our culture really teaches as the prevalent norms of women hating their bodies. And, it's pretty pervasive with us as well, with women, in that I think it's like upwards of 91% of us feel not good enough about our bodies, and 97% of women have at least one body hating thought a day. Like 97% of women. It just blows my mind. It was really interesting, actually. The research study that found that 91% of women feel not good enough about their bodies was actually looking at resiliency in that 9% of women who somehow had escaped that pervasive feeling. And what they found was that those women are kind of like hanging on by a thread, that they don't feel good about that they feel okay about their bodies, but there's something else about their appearance that they feel preoccupied with, or that they feel dissatisfied with. So we're not doing so hot. we need some help in this arena. So, I just wrote an article for the website Scary Mommy, and I can post the link there if anyone's interested, about some of the problems that I see with the really widespread diet talk that tends to come up a lot in moms groups. So I'm part of some moms groups on Facebook, and it doesn't matter if, I'm in one group that's just kind of a general moms group, that's a really large group. I'm in one group that is a group for business moms, for mothers who own their own businesses. And it's kind of across the board. It's interesting to me that it makes its way into the business sphere as well. But every few weeks I will see a post that goes something like this. Like, help, I need to lose 15 pounds. I can't stand, having not lost the baby weight yet. What should I do? And inevitably, there will be like hundreds of responses from women saying, oh, try keto, you have to do Beachbody, you have to try this, you have to try that. Nobody once, mentions how problematic this thought is. The idea that we are wanting to change our bodies, the idea that we are under this pressure that we have to get our bodies back. It's so normalized that it just, nobody questions it at all. So I wrote an article that was kind of talking about some of my concerns with that and what we could do instead. And some of the things I think we can do instead in that environment is just, providing resources for body positivity, intuitive eating, mindful eating, non-diet approaches, but trying to explore alternative ways to just this mainstream, my body's bad, I have to fight against my body, perspective. And one of the reasons that perspective is so frightening, I think, to see in mom communities is that this is what our kids pick up on. So there's also a lot of research that shows that parents, specifically moms, because that's usually what the research is done, what the research looks at, moms tend to have potentially the biggest impact of any kind of influence on our children's body image. And the interesting and kind of frightening part of this research is that if the studies find that it's not just how we relate to our children's bodies that impact their body image. So it's not just about what we say to them or whether or not we put them on a diet. Side note, don't put your kid on a diet. Dieting is linked with huge increased risk. It's so clear in the research of eating disorders and a lot of lifelong health problems, actually not only for your children, but for their children as well. So the effects of that were passed down even in 2 generations, one research study found. But it's not just that. Those things, I hope we're moving towards a place where we can see more clearly that's not a good idea, because the research is so clear on that. The idea of, directly criticizing your kid's body, directly, recommending dieting to your kids, that's really clearly going to cause a negative impact. But I think the thing that we often don't recognize and that the research shows is really plays a big role is how we feel about our own bodies. And that for a lot of parents, I think is scary, because it's not just do what I, say, it's do what I do. So if our kids see and sense and, they are seeing and sensing how we feel about our bodies, how we relate to our bodies, if we are kind of struggling with body shame, if we are engaging in disordered eating, if we value thin bodies more so than larger bodies, if we worry about being fat, if we think that fat is a bad thing, all of these things that most women do, our kids are picking up on, and that is influencing their body image. So, again, researchers think and experts think that the single biggest factor of how a child develops body image, and if they develop healthy body confidence or if they develop unhealthy body shame, is how a parent feels about our body. And that is an enormous responsibility. And it's a lot to put on us because we are products of our culture, and our culture teaches us to hate our bodies. So we're just kind of like living our lives and doing what we're told to do, which is to hate our bodies. And we know that we feel terrible. Like, I think that people struggle with body image issues and disordered eating, or chronic dieting. Like, we know that feels terrible. And we don't want our kids to feel like they are less than or they are not valuable because of the size of their body. That's like the last thing we want. Yet our own issues get in there. So it's a lot. It's a big burden, I think, for parents to hold. But I think the good news is that we can really work to heal our relationship with food. And when we do that, when we work to improve our body image and heal our relationship with food, we're not just healing our own relationship with food. We are creating, like I said, a ripple effect that goes down into the next generation, where we are going to pass that sense of body confidence or body acceptance or even body neutrality down to our children. And that is such a huge gift. I don't know if there's anyone out there who's watching who knows, can speak firsthand to the impact or remembers the impact on your own sense of self, of your mother's body image issues, or like how you felt about her body. I think most people can have a sense and kind of remember how your mom felt about her body and how that affected you, and what a gift it would be to provide a different model for our children. So, again, I think it's a really fine line here. I don't want to blame mothers because I don't think we're at all at fault. I think it's our culture that is to blame here, that we, if we need something to blame, it's definitely our culture that teaches us, that indoctrinates us to believe that our body is bad. And we have to do a tremendous amount of work to unlearn that for ourselves and for our children. And it's just like a hard journey. It's a hard thing to do. But, I said I was going to talk about what I thought was the most powerful thing that we can do for our children to help them have body confidence. And, I honestly think it is to work on our own relationship with food. And we can do that through working with a therapist who specializes in eating disorders from a weight inclusive, acceptance-based perspective. We can do that from reading some of the amazing books that are out on this topic, reading books like Body Respect by Linda Bacon, Body Kindness by Rebecca Scritchfield. My colleague Jenna Hollenstein just came out with a new book this week that is amazing, and I really recommend everybody go buy it. It's called Eat to Love. But there's a lot of books out there that can guide us if we don't have the resources to commit to like engaging in therapy, which I think is really irreplaceable and invaluable, but I know that that's out of reach for a lot of people. We can also engage in group programs like the one that I'm going to be starting this week, the Anti-Diet Plan, which is a group program, so it's a little bit more cost effective to help people resolve these issues around food. And there's just like a lot out there online that you can read about how to raise body confident kids. Some of the more practical guidelines that I'll share with you to help improve body image in children and prevent eating disorders are things like not talking about weight with your kids, definitely not putting your kids on a diet, conveying, the idea that all bodies are respectable and valuable. And there's some, depending on how old your kids are, there are some really wonderful books on the topic, like some children's books that are stories about people of different body sizes that express, all bodies are valuable. And so often children's books are really filled with like thin characters. So that is something, that we can do for our kids, provide those resources. There's some research that shows that having family meals can be helpful in just kind of promoting like healthy ideals around food, and that food is pleasurable and enjoyable and not something to be feared or fought against. Cooking with your kids is another great way to get them involved in the pleasure of food and the joy of their body. And really like just being very cautious about how we talk about our own bodies in front of our kids, because they are like little sponges. They just pick up on everything that we say and do and feel, and they are just so attuned and they get it. So it's a lot to take on, and obviously, eating disorders are multifactorial, and there's no one reason that, no one cause for them. But I do think that there are some things that we can do to help raise body confident kids. Again, the most powerful one is really working to resolve our own relationship with food. And that's something that also is, of course, just extremely powerful and freeing to do for yourself. If anybody is interested in more resources, I'm happy to share with you on how to kind of get yourself out of the diet cycle. I'm happy to share any books, or there's some great podcasts out there. There's just like a lot out there on that I think that we can use to try to help ourselves out of this vicious cycle. And I'm happy to share that if anyone wants to message me for those resources or email me. And I really hope I'm going to see everybody tomorrow on the live masterclass. It's going to be a 1-hour training on why diets don't work, why they're actually like really incredibly harmful. If you've been listening to my Facebook Lives, you probably are picking up on that's like the vibe, that diets are not effective and they are actually pretty dangerous. And I'm also going to be talking about what you can do instead, like how to free yourself from that cycle. And I hope it's going to create a major mindset shift to help people get out of that diet mentality and start their journey towards food freedom. I hope that we're going to talk about some like practical things that you can start doing right away to shift your relationship around food. And again, like I think these are things that are great not just for ourselves, but to model for our families and to really create that shift in the next generation and potentially even the generation after that. So I hope everyone will be there tomorrow. And I am also going to be talking a little bit about the signature 6-week anti-diet plan program, which is going to be starting, actually the course opens to purchase this week on Thursday. I'm super excited. I've been like totally consumed with doing my prep for this masterclass coming up, and also doing the prep for the course and getting everything just really like fine-tuned and ready for you. I think it's going to be an amazing experience. I got some great feedback from the people who went through the first session of the course. I think there's a lot of value in it, and I really hope that it's going to help you and your family get off of the diet wagon and develop a healthier, happier, more peaceful, more joyful relationship with food, with our bodies, and with ourselves. So that program opens up on Thursday. If you're on my email list, you'll probably be getting slightly bombarded with emails. I apologize in advance. They will stop shortly in the next few days, and I will go back to my, every other week newsletter with usually just some, good tips and content about how to eat more mindfully and how to get off the diet train. But until then, please bear with me if you're not interested in the course, that you will be getting quite a few emails over the next a few days or week or so, and then I'll be back to my normal every other week. But if you're not on my email list and you want to, including having some special opportunities to get a discount on the course, please sign up. You can do that on my website, drconason.com. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you want the resources about raising body confident kids, if you want resources about or more information about my program, the anti-diet plan, if you want to register for the masterclass and you can't seem to get that figure it out from the link or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me by email, info@drconason.com. I'm on social media, Instagram at The Anti-Diet Plan, Twitter at Conason Psy.D, and right here on Facebook at Alexis Conason Psy.D. I hope to connect with you. I hope to see you tomorrow at the training, and I hope that we can all be in this together about really shifting the conversation around dieting in our culture, shifting the way that we feel, the normalization of body hatred. I think that's something that we can change. If enough of us make that shift, it will reach kind of a critical mass and it will no longer be so normative to hate ourselves. And hopefully it will no longer be so normative for our children to hate themselves either, because that is one thing, one of the many things that I really feel passionate about and want to change. It's a thing that I think we can do better for our children. All right. Thank you everyone for joining me. I will hopefully see you tomorrow at the masterclass and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.